Hello, this is Ken, and thanks for tuning in to my on the spot travel channel. Today, it's all about Route 66, America's most famous highway, which was established in 2026, nearly 100 years ago, and extended from Chicago, Illinois to Santa Monica, California, 2,448 miles. But today, I'll be focusing on Southern California sites, specifically between San Bernardino and Pasadena. So let's get started. I'm here in Glendora, California on historic Route 66, and behind me is Donut Man, which was started by Jim and Miyoko Nakano 52 years ago. Now, it was opened first as a Foster's Donut store, and then Jim in the 1980s decided to go independent, and he opened the Donut Man. Now, he was thinking of a name for the store, and this little girl saw him in a restaurant and pointed at him and said, "Hey, there's the Donut Man." And so the name stuck. The Donut Man is pretty famous for its strawberry donuts and its peach donuts, and I think they're selling strawberry today, so hopefully we'll get some. A local farmer, I guess back in the 70s, 80s, approached him and had some surplus strawberries and decided to offer him some strawberries, see what he could do with them. And he blended them pretty well with a balance of the sweet strawberries and the sugary donuts. And the strawberry donuts are legendary here, so let's go try them at Donut Man. All right, so here's my Donut Man box, and it says peach donut and strawberry donut. So let's open and see what I got. I got the strawberry donut. They didn't have peach. They said they'd be ready in about a week and a half. So I'll go ahead and have the strawberry one today. Maybe come back in a couple weeks and get a peach donut. I'm here on historic Route 66 at my next stop. This is in San Bernardino, California. And behind me is the original McDonald's restaurant, opened in 1940 by the McDonald brothers, Richard and Maurice, otherwise known as Dick and Mac McDonald. So in 1940, they started serving things like ribs, barbecue, burgers, hot dogs, lots on their menu. And they used car hops, which a lot of fast food places at the time were using. In 1948, they basically decided to streamline everything. They got rid of the car hops because there's a lot of rude teenagers hanging around not ordering much. They also limited their menu to basically just hamburgers and fries and shakes and sodas, things like that. And they also had people just come to the front and order at the window, and everything was disposable, so everything was thrown out. And they were making a lot of money that way. And then in 1954, of course, Ray Kroc, they hired him to be their franchise agent. So he started opening franchises all over the country. And by 1961, they made a contract with Ray Kroc. And Ray Kroc bought the company, McDonald's, and unfortunately for the brothers, they gave him their name also. So the McDonald brothers opened their site here. They continued as the Big M restaurant because Ray Kroc opened a McDonald's close to here. And in 1961, they sold it to Ray Kroc, but they continued operating the restaurant for a little while, for about 6 years, and finally the McDonald brothers closed their Big M restaurant here in the late 60s. But this site here is still a museum. The founder of Juan Pollo chicken franchise, their headquarters is here now in San Bernardino, and half of the corporation, the corporate site here, is dedicated to a museum, and they have a lot of memorabilia from the time that the McDonald brothers were operating their restaurant here in the 1940s and 1950s. So I'm going to go in and take a look. It doesn't open till 10, but it's open at 10 during the weekdays and on the weekends. So if you want to drop in and look at some cool McDonald's memorabilia, here it is in San Bernardino, right on historic Route 66. There's a really cool mural painting here on the side of the museum that shows the route, Route 66 route, all the way from out in Needles. There's Spike Spike was Snoopy's brother who came from Needles. And it pretty covers every Route 66 landmark all the way to Santa Monica on this wall. Really, really cool. So Wigwam Motel, we'll go in there later. There's some McDonald's. For my next Route 66 destination, I'm here at the Mitla Cafe here in San Bernardino. The Mitla Cafe was the hangout for Mexican Americans here starting in 1937. San Bernardino was a relatively segregated place in 1937, so Mexican Americans kind of hung out here in the west part of San Bernardino. And they started to gather here at Lucia Rodriguez's Mitla Cafe, serving standard Mexican food fare. But what was really interesting is that across the street there was a young man who was trying to sell hot dogs and hamburgers, and he visited the cafe. He learned about the restaurant business. He found out how they were making their crispy tacos, and that man's name was Dennis Bell. And Dennis Bell went on to stop making hamburgers and hot dogs, and he started making crispy tacos with a little bit of lettuce and a little bit of cheese. And you probably know who I'm talking about. Dennis Bell was the founder of Taco Bell. So he basically got a lot of his ideas here from the Rodriguez family and how they made their crispy tacos here at the Mitla Cafe on Route 66 in San Bernardino. Apparently also Cesar Chavez used to like to hang out here, talk about his ideas of unionizing the farm workers. So this was a meeting spot for social, political Mexican-American activities, for making positive changes in this community. Back in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and even today, they're still serving great Mexican food here at the Mitla Cafe in San Bernardino, Route 66. My next stop here on Route 66 is the famous Wigwam Motel. These are teepee-shaped rooms that a man named Frank Redford designed in the 1930s and 40s. He built them in all kinds of states, in Florida, Louisiana, a couple in Kentucky, one in Arizona, in Holbrook. And this one is in San Bernardino, and I think these were built in about the early, mid to late 1940s. So this one has a swimming pool. It has double rows of teepee-shaped hotels. I think there's 20 individual rooms here. Swimming pool, I think they're air conditioned now. So there's people actually staying here. There's a little Route 66 shop indoors. So this was the Frank Redford designed famous teepee-shaped hotels. And even in the movie Cars, they used, instead of teepees, I think to be more appropriate, culturally appropriate, they used orange cones hotels in the movie Cars. So this is the Wigwam Motel, Route 66, San Bernardino. Frank Redford designed Wigwam Motels. Okay, I'm technically right now not on Route 66, but I'm a few miles away from it. Behind me you see this pretty impressive looking house through these gates. This house is roughly 100 years old. It's here in Fontana, and it has a connection to probably the most famous gangster in American history back in the 1930s and 40s, and that man's name is Al Capone. Now you wonder, how does Al Capone have any kind of history? You usually associate the Scarface with either New York City or Chicago, but apparently he used this house here in Fontana as either, number one, a hideout, or more likely probably a winter home, because you could have the mountains just north of here. You could also head down to the beach or out in the desert. So whether it was a hideout for Capone or it was a winter house, this is where he stayed when he was in Southern California. Now, the house is interesting because apparently on top of the chimney it still has a big letter C, which people believe stands for Capone. It also has a tunnel underneath the house, which can hold two cars. And the tunnel is also connected to a nearby church where allegedly Capone used to attend when he was here in Fontana. So this is the Al Capone house in Fontana, not too far away from Route 66. Okay, about 100 years ago, here in Monrovia, on Foothill Boulevard, a man by the name of Robert Stacy Judd built this Mayan Revival Architecture Hotel, and today it's called the Aztec Hotel. I'm not sure if people still stay in this hotel or not, but as you can see, it has a lot of cool Mayan style architecture. And this was popular in the 1920s, about 100 years ago, which is when this hotel was built. I think it was built in either 1924 or 1925. So this Aztec Hotel is also listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And even though it's not actually on Route 66, it's just up from Huntington Drive in Monrovia. And Huntington continues until Colorado Boulevard and Pasadena. But Foothill Boulevard also stretches Foothill Boulevard here that are part of Route 66. So Aztec Hotel in the city of Monrovia. Okay, I'm here in Pasadena, and there's a house behind me that you can kind of see. It has the blue shutters on it. And I want to tell you a little story about this house. And it starts in the country of the Netherlands back in the late 1950s, early 1960s. There's a man from the Netherlands, and he married a woman from Indonesia. And they lived in Amsterdam, where they had a son who was born there, and they had another son. But in Nijmegen, Netherlands, apparently the ethnic marriages at the time, which is kind of hard to believe, were kind of looked down on at the time. And so this family from the Netherlands decided to start a new life here in the Los Angeles area, and they moved into this house in Pasadena in 1962. And they had literally $50 and a piano. The father was musically trained. He was a musician. His son Alex decided to get himself a guitar, and his son Eddie decided to get some drums. Well, in a few months, the brothers switched instruments. So Eddie learned to play on the guitar, Alex the drums, and they ended up, when they were about 7 years old, living in this house, playing these instruments. And you probably know who I'm talking about by now. I'm talking about Eddie and Alex Van Halen. And they formed a group Mammoth in 1972, and exactly 50 years ago, when David Lee Roth joined the band, they named it officially the Van Halen Band. And this is the house where Eddie designed and built his own guitars out of parts, including his famous Frankencaster guitar. And I don't know much about these guitars or have much background at it, but since this house is kind of close to Route 66, I kind of made it a destination. So this is the Eddie Van Halen house in Pasadena. I'm standing here in front of Alexander Hamilton's elementary school here in Pasadena, and this is where Eddie Van Halen went to elementary school. He was in about primary grades up through 4th grade when he was about 9 years old. Now this elementary school is interesting because when Eddie Van Halen went to school here when he was in the 4th grade, he and his brother Alex started their first band together, and they got 3 other boys from the school, and they were only in 4th grade, and they played in this schoolyard here behind me at a lunchtime concert. And Eddie said that that was the first time that he decided he really wanted to become a professional musician. So, if you're ever in San Bernardino, I would really recommend the McDonald's Museum. When I was there, I met people from 4 different European countries within the space of just 20 minutes. So, I guess Europeans must love McDonald's. So, yeah, and it also kind of took me back to my childhood, seeing all the memorabilia from back in the 1970s, like the cups I used to collect, and the way they used to package the burgers in the boxes. Then there's all the original equipment that the McDonald brothers used, like the spatula, the mustard and ketchup dispenser, grill scrapers, the electric fry basket, potato press cutter, and even Ray Kroc's multi-mixer that he sold to the McDonald brothers when he first discovered the restaurant in San Bernardino. So if you love the movie The Founder, with Michael Keaton about how Ray Kroc took over McDonald's, and you're definitely going to love this museum. In fact, the curator there is really fascinating to listen to. He was just telling me all kinds of funny stories, interesting stories about people that lived in San Bernardino and knew Ray Kroc and knew the McDonald brothers. So you should definitely check it out. Plus, it's free. So, and don't forget to spend some time looking at the mural also outside the wall of the museum. It shows kind of all the Route 66 sites from Santa Monica to Needles, California. So, yeah, again, thanks for watching, and I hope if you're ever in Southern California, you can visit some of these historic Route 66 sites, especially during next year's centennial celebration. Yeah, so this is Ken for On the Spot Travel, signing out.